Mercury in Aquarius. This video is for anyone who has their Mercury in the sign of Aquarius. And Mercury is one of the most important planets in the horoscope because it represents our communication style, the way of thinking, and our skills and our interests. So it becomes one of the primary indications for career or for the mission in your life, because how you think and how you communicate and what skills you have is the biggest selling and point you have, basically. And that's why Mercury is so important, and you can find out what sign your Mercury is in by going to my birth chart calculator. I'm putting a link for it here at astrolada.com. Entering your birth details, you don't need to know your time of birth. It is okay if you don't know, just put 12, any kind of hour. And then once you generate the chart, go to the planetary detail table. And there you'll see the enumeration of each planet, ascendant, sun, moon, Venus, Mercury. Just find where Mercury is and look the sign that Mercury is in. It's opposite somewhere. And if it happens to be Aquarius, this video is for you. And that's actually considered one very beneficial and strong position for Mercury, for the mind. Because the mind should not be partial. The mind should be considering facts in a more rational way. And this is exactly what Aquarius is. This is a sign that is very impartial, detached from feelings, from personal impressions. So if they analyze something, they usually have a very scientific approach to that analysis, to the facts as well. And also if you ask them for the truth, they usually will tell you the truth. They'll tell it straight as they see it, without emotional involvement there. So if you need advice from someone, Mercury in Aquarius can be very helpful in a productive way, because Aquarius is one of the most productive signs. Its root, one of its lords is Saturn, the planet of hard work. And so they'll try to help you with practical solutions in a way, and with conceptualizing what you're asking them about and looking at it very rationally. And what is the style of communication if you have Mercury in Aquarius? Well, first of all, they tend to come across as very friendly, because Aquarius is the sign of friendships, groups of people. It's the sign of the common group, of the hoi polloi, of the masses, basically, of the normal people. So usually they tend to talk in a very, speak out with plain dialect, which is common, which is understandable by the common people. And often that's why they appear to the masses, they appear to the ordinary person, and they sound very friendly because of that. And often Mercury and Aquarius people can be very good for speaking in front of people, in front of crowds, to get them, because of the way they can connect to the crowd, because Aquarius is the sign that understands the currents and the needs and the pulse of the crowd, of the masses, and they capture it with their mind and they can vocalize it. That's why some of the best speakers, like Martin Luther King has Mercury in Aquarius, and he could sway the opinion of the masses, and he would appeal so much to the masses as well. And Steve Jobs gave amazing speeches, and I'll quote for you. He also has Steve Jobs on Mercury in Aquarius. I'll give you a few quotes at the end of the video from those amazing people with Mercury in Aquarius, and you'll see what I mean. And their communication, how we continue to talk about communications of Mercury. So yeah, they have this popular appeal usually. They have this impartial look at things, and they like to stir things up sometimes as well, because the second ruler of Aquarius is Uranus, which is a bit more rebellious planet. They like to shake things up, and they would like to challenge the biases of other people. If someone is very prejudiced or racial or kind of horse with blinkers, they would like to, even if they agree with that person, they might just for the sake of the argument, they might try to present a different point of view. And they often love intellectual debates. I have quite a few friends with Mercury in Aquarius, and they're good talkers. They'll talk, sometimes they can be exclusions. If Mercury is with Saturn, aspected by Saturn, it will make them much more reserved in their communications. But they usually would like to communicate and not like two-way communication. It's more like an intellectual concepts about a vision they have about things. They would give you a very unique not always, but sometimes you'd see like Mercury in Aquarius would give you a very unique and very different perspective because of this Uranus influence that rules Aquarius. They would have kind of a quirky, more original take on certain matter if you ask them. So if you're stuck in some situation, if you need someone to break the mold or to show you a very different or unique perspective, go speak with a Mercury Aquarius person. And also, if you're feeling very emotional, for example. I have one of my best friends has Mercury in Aquarius, and every time I would go into a fit about something and I won't see reason and I'll be stressing and negative or emotional, I would call her and should present things in such a more light, a different, bigger picture way, because they're big picture thinkers, like Steve Jobs, and should always take me out of a funk with presenting the information in an impartial, original, and the facts, and take me out of my emotional state. So Mercury in Aquarius, that's why often they tend to be very good friends as well, and people would go to them to speak with them because they bring reason to others. And because they're very big picture thinkers, for example, I'll give you a quote from Steve Jobs that shows the way that they don't think about the small things but the big things. He has a quote that says, remembering that I'll be soon dead is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life. Because almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fears of failure, these things fall away in the face of death. Whoa, isn't that a big thinker? Big picture thinker? And often their mind is very alert and quick, because Aquarius it's a fixed sign, it's a stable sign, but there is this, because of the dual rulership of Saturn and Uranus, Saturn will make them, once they learn something, to keep the information for a long time, the fixity of Aquarius. But Uranus can bring them sudden flashes of inspiration in their mind. All of a sudden they can download whole pieces of information out of the blue, or whole pieces of ideas out of the blue. And it's kind of and often those ideas are very progressive, often ahead of their time. So others might find them quirky, eccentric, kind of a bit pariahs as well, because they would say things not to shock people always, but they would say things that are ahead of their time, that are visionary in a sense, that are very different. And but they're not like weird in a way that you can understand. There is a scientific approach to their thinking. They're scientific thinkers. As I said, they take the facts, but they can, as I said, have those flashes of inspirations that inspire others. And for example, Mozart, the genius, Aquarius is the sign of genius, so quite a few very spectacular people with spectacular qualities have Mercury in Aquarius. And Mozart, when he was composing his music, he would say that he would get the whole symphony or the whole sonata fully formed in his head and like download it in one flash, because Aquarius rules electricity and flash, sudden download, and he would then take his time to reproduce it. But this is how it can work sometimes, sudden brilliant ideas. And often their thinking can be very stimulated if they're somehow thinking, communicating in the big groups of people, because Aquarius rules big groups of people. So they can, others communicating, them listening to others talking, can bring them those inspirations and those unique this ability to see different sides of things. So maybe like brainstorming can be a great forte for Mercury in Aquarius, and I've seen it. Like with my friend, we would sit and we'll work on some collection of jewelry. She has Mercury in Aquarius, and when we start bantering, exchanging, and another two friends would be with us, she would get those bright, brilliant ideas. So that's a good way to the mind get stimulated. And they usually have interesting way of communication. They can be quirky sometimes. As I said, there is often a lot of honesty in their communication. And because Uranus, the Lord of Aquarius, does not play around or bullshit. Saturn is also a no-nonsense planet, the two planets that rules Aquarius, and they love discussing concepts, and often they're more, they're basically more, they can be more loyal to concepts, interestingly enough, than to people and to situations in some way. Like they see some conceptual bigger picture and they're more loyal to that. And they like to explore outlandish, far-reaching ideas. That's why I've seen that many Mercury in Aquarius people, they love to read, metaphysical metaphysical articles or literature, sci-fi, science fiction. They usually quite enjoy that as well, because outlandish, far-reaching, progressive, futuristic. They love to probably read about technology. Often they're very skillful with technology. You know, anyone with Mercury in Aquarius, I know when I have problem with my computer or to install some software, they quickly find out how to do it, you know. And they, usually they're, you know, because Mercury in Aquarius indicates skills, Mercury indicates skills, so they're often very good, for example, with technology, I said, with scientific matters, with metaphysical matters, which are again outreaching, cosmos, you know, the big picture, and they're very good at networking, because Aquarius rules networking, connecting people, getting big groups of people, and creating contacts a lot. Oh my God, I see it like this friend with Mercury in Aquarius. Whenever I go to her place, we sit in the garden, and every 1 hour some friend would come, and I'm like, how do you have so many friends? You know, it's almost like a communal base there, and they actually might be quite drawn and interested in exploring life in communities, in tightly knit communities that are connected by similar goals, that are connected by similar ideology and concepts. And they're very good at social media, for example, as well. They can be good because social media is about groups of people getting together, and they know how to appeal to the popular, how to speak the language of the popular masses as well. And they're very good at understanding complex systems, because Aquarius rules complex systems, and complex systems can be different things, from economic complex system. This can be someone who is very good at economics, understanding the economy. This can be someone who is very good at social, you know, social theories, understanding the complexity of how society works as a big group together. This can be someone very good at understanding computers, because computers are like big systems that are interconnected, the internet and all those things. They can be very good at mathematics, because mathematics is a conceptual system that tries to globalize things to, you know, like mathematicians believe that there is one formula that can give the reason for life, for example, and they try to, you know, take things and put them in a big picture and kind of connect them in networks and in systems and understand those systems. They can be, for example, someone who is a doctor of the human brain, because the human brain is, you know, a very complicated system. It's or the nervous system, or the skin. The skin is a big complicated system again. Or they can be very good at possibly, I would say, statistics as well, social research, social marketing, things like that. They can be very good at oh, sorry about that. Yeah, they can be very good about integration, processes of integration as well. As I said, Aquarius is about taking different things and integrating it in a bigger way. It's a sign of globalism. They can be very good in they can be very interested, some of them, in political matters, what's happening in society, and some of them can be very good politicians. Again, they can influence the masses. They know to speak the language of the masses, and they can see rationally the needs of the masses. They can be very good, for example, they like to be and often interested in becoming parts of members of groups that are connected by similar, by similar interests and by commonly tied, by common tightly defined vision. For example, I've seen it in computer specialists that, you know, in such groups, trade unionists, again, people that are interested in politics, political parties and things like that. But it's important for them to have a large system of people around them, to get stimulated in different ways by such people. Just being locked at home and working on their own might feel a little bit too tight and a little bit too restricting for them, or not inspirational enough for them. Let's see, what else? How do they learn? Well, Mercury shows how a person learns, and Mercury in Aquarius people, they might, you know, they can be very organized actually, because of Saturn rules Mercury, but rules Aquarius, but also they have this zany Uranus side to them, so that their system of learning can be quite unusual, or might not make sense to others, for example, because of this Uranus. But you know, they once they get knowledge, it's fixed. They keep it for a long time. Once they understand something, because they understand it rationally, logically, they don't understand it just by, it stays with them for a long way. And their opinions usually are fixed as well. The opinions are fixed, but they like to challenge other people's fixed opinion as well. And in order for you to change their opinion, you have to present them very valid facts. And you have to rationally convince them. With emotional appeals, it's not going to happen. Rationally convince them, and they'll be convinced in that way. And they're very interested in humankind's progress as well. Again, I've seen many Mercury and Aquarius people read articles about science, physics, about quantum physics, about how the mind can influence matter, about the future of humanity, about progressive such themes. And you see how, Martin Luther King, for example, what he said is, and they want to contribute to the world, they want to contribute to society. And Martin Luther King, with Mercury in Aquarius, he said, just a second, he said, life's most persistent questions is, what are you doing for others? Because Aquarius is the greater community of humankind. So how are you contributing to others? And with their skills and with their communications and informations, Mercury and Aquarius people, especially more evolved ones or later in life when they're more in control of their skills, they tend to contribute in a big way, either to the local community or to a bigger group of people. And again, as I say, careers that are focused on working with more people, contributing somehow to the community, to the world, is very good for them. And as I said, many scientists have this position as well. Also, Martin Luther King, I want to tell you a few more quotes from him that make sense. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. This is such an Aquarius statement, because Aquarius is all about justice for the normal people, justice on a grand scale. And he also said another thing: we must learn to live together as brothers or perish together as fools. Again, this focus on humanity becoming a big brotherhood, becoming part of a big integrated system. Aquarius rules brotherhood, Aquarius rules friendships, Aquarius rules equal rights. The Aquarian quote, when Uranus was discovered, the Lord of Aquarius, that was during the French Revolution, and their quote was brotherhood, equality, fraternité, brotherhood, justice. Sorry about that, something like that. Brotherhood, equality, and justice for all, or something like that. And that's very much Aquarius. And the Mercury in Aquarius people think like that. That's why they usually, very rarely would you see very prejudiced people there. Again, they want to embrace, or racist or something like that. They want to embrace the bigger picture. They have very progressive ideas for the future of humanity. You'd find them the one that are, interested in progressive movements, in liberation. Aquarius, freedom. The quote was freedom, equality, brotherhood. So they would be interested in such themes of liberation and human rights or animal rights or the improvement of the overall world. And interestingly enough, I'll give you a story. When Martin Luther King was doing his speech, I Have a Dream speech. And again, Aquarius rules dreams and wishes. You see how a person speaks there, Aquarius? Like Martin Luther King speaking about justice, about brotherhood, speaking about what are we here to do, but the biggest question is, what can we do for others, the bigger group. And when he was doing his speech, I Have a Dream, till the very last moment, and dream rules Aquarius, till the very last moment, he started writing it the night before, which is something Aquarius can be like the Uranus energy of last moment, flashes of inspiration, because he wanted to feel what the pulse of the crowd is. He wanted to feel like the moments before the speech had to be given, and he made a lot of correction in the last moment before the speech was given, because he could feel, like the wave, the energy of the mass. He didn't go just with a conscripted speech. And at one moment, when he was sticking to the, to what he had prepared in the last moment, and then at one moment, someone mentioned something. Tell them about your dream, Luther. And it immediately, someone from the crowd shouted that. And it spurred him, and he started the I Have a Dream, which was totally improvised. It was totally on the spur of the moment thing, which is again something very much Aquarius Mercury in Aquarius that can give those brilliant flashes of inspiration, especially when the crowd or a big group of people feeds them that energy. So, sudden flashes of inspiration, another thing that is there. And another thing that I'm so stuck on Martin Luther King because he was the best example of Mercury in Aquarius at the highest level. Is he said capitalism does not permit the even flow of economic resources. He understood complex systems like political and economic systems, and he said with this system a small privileged few are rich and almost all others are doomed to be poor at some level. That's the way the system works, and since we know that the system will not change the rules, we're going to change the system. And there is this rebelliousness here. Aquarius is the sign of revolutions, is the sign of revolutionizing, is the sign of integration, restructuring. What was the word? Just a second. Is the sign of rebelliousness and social reforms. So he was talking about those social reforms. He was saying we'll change the system. When the Lord of Aquarius, the rule of Aquarius, Uranus, was discovered, everywhere in the world there were revolutions happening, starting with the French Revolution and the American liberation. What was it? The independence of America as well. So people want to free themselves. People want to free themselves from oppressive systems that are not equal from everyone. That's Mercury in Aquarius. They understand that. They understand the need for humanity to go in that direction. And some of them can be very much into new age things, so some of them can be very much into new progressive movements. Some of them can be very much into all those things that I mentioned, like skills. And Steve Jobs, as we said, is again Mercury in Aquarius. What a visionary. I mean, I'm giving you here geniuses, which with Mercury in Aquarius can give that. Of course, there are many normal people with Mercury in Aquarius, like Harry Styles and Justin Bieber. Sometimes they don't say brilliant flashes of inspiration. They tend to say things that shock others and do things that shock others. But that's usually while one is young, one is immature, and the other one gets with Mercury in Aquarius, the more they can develop this higher level of the Aquarian energy. So let's see what Steve Jobs, Mercury in Aquarius, said. Your time is limited, so don't waste it with someone else's life. So don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't let the noise of others' opinion drown your own inner voice. Amazing, Aquarius, be individualist, stick out even as a sore thumb. Go against the crowd, rebel against what everyone has done before, but follow your own truth. Aquarius is the sign of truthfulness, liberation, being your true self, being your true, unique self. And Mercury in Aquarius people, even if they sound quirky or even if they sound a bit too, not exactly risk takers, but they have to go and stick with their opinions, and they'll have, as I said, very original and different opinions than others. And if they try and stifle this call, this inner call for progressive movement, for innovation, for that Aquarius has, that calls for them, that can kill their spark, that can kill their best skills and abilities. And what, as again Steve Jobs says, is that innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower. Innovation. Aquarius is the sign of scientific discovery, of genius, brilliant flashes of inspiration, new progressive ideas. He speaks again. People speak their Mercury. And another thing Steve Jobs says, and these are the first 4 quotes I got from Steve Jobs, and they all spoke his Mercury in Aquarius. He says, great things in business are never done by one person. They're done by a team of people. Aquarius, groups of people. So he surrounded himself with always the best people, and he knew that he cannot do things on his own. He had his own vision, he imposed it on others, he did not listen what others told him. If you watch the Steve Jobs movie, many people would say him, you're crazy, and sometimes he would get it wrong, of course, but sometimes those brilliant and very innovative and very different ways of approaching things paid off in a huge way. And for Mercury in Aquarius, again, as I said, the best way to succeed in life is to work in a group and to have this feedback again with others, because they feed on that and they can get brilliant inspirations. And who else is Mercury in Aquarius? Oprah Winfrey. Come on, some of the coolest people in the world, Oprah Winfrey. Everyone loves her. The masses, the popular masses. She's like the sweetheart of America, all the world as well. And what she said, there is a quote, she said, again, speaking, the first quote I read, speaking Mercury in Aquarius, is like, surround yourself only with people who are going to lift you higher. Mercury in Aquarius, group of people, how the others impact you. And because Aquarius is the sign of reaching out big groups of people, look at the way she impacts the world all over, and look at the themes she's so interested in, the themes that are all about progressive movement, about the new psychology, about the future of humanity, about I don't have to tell you, this is so Mercury in Aquarius, and she's doing it through communication, through the media. Actually, Aquarius rules media, so they can be very good in any kind of media, social media, internet, TV. Aquarius rules everything that a big group of people can listen and connect to and send information through. And another last example, Mercury in Aquarius, is Jim Carrey. What a zany sense of humor! Aquarius is different, it's edgy, like it's unusual in some way, and he dared to be himself, and that's why he's Jim Carrey. No other comedian has his style like Jim Carrey. And last quote from Jim Carrey is, I just want to be myself. And on that note, we conclude that Mercury in Aquarius, people. Thank you very much, and dare to be yourself. Don't lose yourself in others. Thank you.